In my last more general video, Decoding My Hero Academia, I discussed a lot about how it represented our society, where the pro-heroes represent the upper class, be it egotistical or otherwise, where someone being born with a powerful quirk representing someone born into nobility, without needing to work for their initial stature. And I highly suggest you watch that video first, because this builds on all those ideas. A link to that video is in the description. If you do not want to see that one first, or if you've seen it already, that's totally fine, because I would like to discuss a much finer point than the broad society of the MHA universe. I would like to discuss exactly what one for all means, what all for one means, and decode the clash between them. But for some background, there were probably many reasons that caused All Might to choose Deku as his candidate to inherit one for all. Possibly because he saw himself in Deku when he was a child, or because he saw his passion and thought it wise to fuel it. But the reason he gives Deku as to why his mind was set on him was because of his recklessness running into danger in the pursuit of justice. When I initially heard his reasoning, frankly, I was upset, because from the perspective of the superficial visual narrative, Deku was a freaking moron that needlessly put himself into danger when his actions couldn't possibly result in anything of value. On the contrary, it shows poor, reckless decision-making under pressure that can only hinder himself or possibly other if the situation arises. As far as the metaphoric narrative, however, that's the precise reason why Deku is perfect for one for all. Being quirkless in itself is opportune to inherit this power, being that, as I've mentioned, it represents the status of nobility given to someone who grew up without it. But if that someone is still willing to be steadfast in his recklessness for the sake of saving someone born into nobility, which in most cases, be it in our world or in the world of My Hero Academia, the unjustly treated minority, being Deku in this situation, would detest vehemently. Protecting him from a villain, which in this metaphor, a villain is the opposite of what a hero represents, being the ultimate lower class, gone violent, and virtually the most common cause to terrorism. Making Deku's mindset and outlook on life and society, rather than his actions, the perfect reason for him to inherit one for all, whose purpose is to unite everyone regardless of race, or class, or background. It's there to protect the weak, and it's there to rejuvenate the strong, as seen in the Todoroki fight that I've alluded to more in my previous video, and that I'd like to allude to more in a future video. Therefore, Deku, who makes no differentiation between backgrounds, as we see him risking himself to save Bakugo, and purely a differentiation between the actions of good and evil, only then can he become the next beacon of unifying hope. All the attacks used in One for All are basically named after places in America. Detroit Smash, Delaware Smash, and Manhattan Fart of Doom being simple examples of this. This may sound like a joke, but let's be honest, a One for All fart would probably be nuclear. Anyway, these attacks are superficially a reference to the superhero movies that for the most part hail from the US, and metaphorically, these names represent how the states are the most interracial functioning society in the world, just like the world of My Hero Academia, and how it has very much the same issues as far as white supremacy and capital corruption on the hero side, and with all the aggression of the underprivileged representing the villain side. Note, however, that there is no requirement to draw a conclusion at this point that All Might is Donald Trump, even though they look alike and have similar hairstyles. Although it is noteworthy to mention that for the most part, blonde characters in anime come from a Western background. Kenneth El Malloy Archibald, Chitoge Kurisaki, and basically everyone else too, being another allusion to the United States. Speaking of One for All, it's the root for something I initially disliked, yet grew to appreciate over time after realizing its metaphoric significance. Every protagonist in this style shonen anime starts off weak, and we follow them on their journey to get strong. Every is maybe a strong word, however this is the classic shonen trope that makes everyone love shonen anime and want to follow the hero's journey. In fact, that the only shonen protagonists that are really good without protagonist growth in strength and power, as it's such a large role, would be Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Gintama, and certain arcs of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. 3 of the 5 greatest shonens of all time, as judged by the Nuxometer, which is pretty much never wrong. But clearly, they are few and far between. It is clear that My Hero Academia does this gradual increase in protagonist power, however, it's unlike the likes of everything we've seen until now. Your average shonen protagonist gets stronger and develops more abilities as the series progresses as you progress alongside it. Naruto learned Shadow Clones, Rasengan, and built on all that until he even gropes at his nine-tailed fox potential, and even once that was tapped into, it was still a gradual growth in strength as they bonded together and developed chakra mode, and so on and so forth. Luffy had a gradual increase of power alongside developing Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, learning Haki, and Gear 4th, which seems to in itself be developing further as well. Ichigo started as a human and slowly throughout the series developed into Soul Reaper, Hollow Visored, Fullbringer, Quincy, Demigod, Super Saiyan, Mega Level Digimon, powering up throughout. Deku's struggle for power is like none of these, because the power is there. He already has One for All. He's just fighting for control. His gradual increase in strength throughout the series corresponds with how well he can control his already immense power. As far as what I've said Granted, until now, you can all see that as a message to all of you. In everyone's mind, they're born into an underdog society, but your ability is there and you just have to find it. Because All Might being a symbol of peace does not represent a physical being in our world. He represents the hope and determination within Deku, or within what Deku represents, being every viewer, as I've elucidated again in my previous video. And of course, the All Might's deflated anorexic form, representing the brutally honest weight of reality, pulling you back down to earth. It's seen clearly throughout his encounters with others, and the clincher of all this, what leads me to believe that this is what All Might represents, is the anti-All Might, the all-for-one user. Despite us really not knowing much about him at all, his existence in the world is simple if you look at it in metaphoric terms. What we know about him is that his ability includes taking and giving quirks to others, or the ability to relocate nobility that originally belonged to other people, becoming the perfect spearhead for a villain movement. The villains that join him being the people that were rejected by society or continue to reject society for whatever reason, where the all-for-one user legitimately becomes the All Might for villains, the symbol of chaos, claiming Stain's acts of perverted justice as his own, and becoming the home for everyone who wants out of the world and out of society, where he can grant them a respect they believe themselves to deserve. Sound familiar? Without even twisting it a little, that's exactly what ISIS is doing in our modern day, claiming acts of terrorism, comforting the weak and depressed, that it's not them that needs changing, but it's the world that we must change together, where ISIS acts as more than just a man. I've heard people comparing ISIS to Nazis, and while both are definitely undisputed evil, or at least they used to be undisputed, hashtag Charlottesville, hashtag PewDiePie, hashtag YouTube should pay us more, hashtag fuck the Wall Street Journal, these people are clearly misinformed. While Nazis are represented in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood by the homunculi, and that's a topic for an entire different video that I'm really looking forward to making, their goal is to annihilate lesser beings, where only pure bloods can remain, while ISIS is represented by the League of Villains, being the home of these quote-unquote lesser beings as their flagship, unifying them to destroy the quote-unquote pure bloods, a complete opposite. While I'd like to say this is speculation, because we don't understand the League of Villains as of yet, just by the fact that their goal is to defeat All Might, it clearly represents more than mere revenge, but it represents the will of evil, with the intention of tainting the All Might within everyone. It yearns for the destruction of society, and to rebuild it under a new order, as opposed to the repairing and uniting of society that One for All itself represents. So while I believe that the League of Villains is clearly, as already seen, the home base for villains, and while I believe the depressed are the villains that they are for the most part assembling, as well as the vengeful, I believe All for One, being the antithesis of One for All, doesn't only represent the evil and the chaos within every villain. As I've said, it's a power to manipulate birthright, and I'm under the impression that just like One for All is the justice within all of us that is attempting to unify us, and that is Deku's final duty. All for One is the darkness within everyone that's convincing them to take action on injustice, even if that injustice that they take action upon is nothing at all. No lie is actually believable without slight truth included, so there's something to grasp at, and All for One is the feeling inside everyone that will contort every minuscule injustice into a personalized wrongdoing, and that's what Deku is going to have to put up a fight against. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how I see the visceral battle between All for One and One for All. I do believe that it will take this path throughout the anime, and that the final climax will be the eradication of this chaos dormant within everyone, at least to a large extent, until it awakens again in the future. And that's why you need One for All, to last from generation to generation, and to be passed down through them, because there will always be that harboring hatred within someone that will stir up something. Deku will have to unify everyone. I hope you enjoyed my decoding of the forces of good and evil of My Hero Academia. I really enjoyed making the script to this video, because it is quite a good series, and this is one of my first decoded analysis scripts that I really want to get into making more of. I already have one ready on Death Note, and one ready on Gurren Lagann, that you will hopefully be seeing soon. I have an idea for doing one on Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood that I've already mentioned, and I want you guys to let me know if you want me to actually make this a serious percentage of my channel's content, because while the scripts take long, I owe it to you guys for subscribing, commenting, and liking, so please do all of that. I'll see you next time, fellas. I appreciate all of your support. I'll link my previous decoding video right now, as well as some other My Hero Academia content, be it analysis, be it sarcastic critique. Also, huge thanks to Rising Rising Star on his amazing work once again editing this video. He always comes through when I need him, so if you could show him some love in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Rising. It's a pleasure whenever you're on board to edit one of these videos. Speaking of, if any of you guys want to edit one of these videos, I have a huge backlog of scripts at this point, thankfully, so feel free to contact me on Discord or email. And to all of you that didn't just click on my last 5 Fatal Flaws video and give it a dislike just because you like My Hero Academia, you're a good person, because despite liking the show, I think the opposition is fun. But hey, maybe I'm just weird in that sense. But one of the reasons why I love making these videos on YouTube is because you get to look at one thing at many different angles and from many perspectives that could potentially put a deeper depth on something you're looking at, which is why I love these Decoded videos, and which is why I love the 5 Fatal Flaw videos, and the two of them do not contradict each other. Have yourself a most wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time.